You're listening to Cars and Coffee, your local home for the latest in motorsports and automotive news here on 91.3 WHJE. And now, here's your host, Nathan Ward. Hello and welcome to Cars and Coffee here on 91.3 WHJE. My name is Nathan Ward. Hopefully everyone had a good holiday break. We are back in the swing of things, hoping to do weekly shows now till the end of the year, and we have a lot of news. So, INDYCAR silly season-wise, we are down to only one last seat. It is the Dale Coyne number 18, and there are a lot of qualified people that could get that seat, but likely, considering Dale Coyne's other signing, it's probably going to be a money hire. But we'll start off at the top of the news table. This bit actually came out right after I did my last show, so this is, I don't know, about a month old at this point. Dreyer and Reinbold Racing will return to the Indianapolis 500 with Ryan Hunter-Reay in the number 23 Chevy, and Jack Harvey will replace Connor Daly in the number 24. We'll see where Connor Daly goes later. They added in the Racer.com article that announced this that Dreyer and Reinbold is looking to return full season to the INDYCAR series. For the last, over 10 years at least, DRR has been an Indy 500 only team, mainly just because they're a small operation and they don't really have the money to do any other races, and that's the race that they succeed the most in. They were kind of a nobody when they were with Lotus and kind of floundered the last couple years they were full season. But the new engine and car regulations, which look like they're going to happen in 2027, fingers crossed, may present an opportunity for Dreyer and Reinbold Racing to enter full season the NTT IndyCar Series again. I don't think that Penske Entertainment is going to raise the number of charters, especially considering that there are two cars already that are going to run full season without charters, that being the two Prema cars. We'll get to those in a second, because they did their team reveal. I don't think that Penske's going to add more charters for Dreyer and Reinbold unless somehow, with the new car, if the new car takes up less pit space, which I doubt it will. I bet it'll probably be within like the same footprint that the current DW12 is, because when Marshall Pruitt talked about this on Racer.com, the render or the model of the car that they sent out to the teams about a month ago was very similar to the current DW12 Aero kit with slight changes. He said it has like a Formula 2 style beam wing, which I'm really a fan of, but really the car needs to be light, and the car needs to be able to carry an actual hybrid system instead of a supercapacitor that basically it's like a glorified battery jumper. Like, it just provides like a brief flash of energy, and that's it. It's not very applicable within a race scenario, and that's something that IndyCar really should be looking to change with this new car. But with the new car, Dreyer and Reinbold does see an opportunity to return to the series in 2027 if it has the financial backing and the talent to do so. Moving on, we have 3 seats that have been filled since I've last been on air here, leaving 1 remaining. Devlin DeFrancesco has signed a multi-year deal to drive the Rahal Letterman Lanigan number 30. That car last year was occupied by Pietro Fittipaldi. He will be in the Pratt Miller Motorsports LMP2 car in IMSA, so he will not be able to do full season in IndyCar because he's got a full season IMSA sports car campaign, and there's a couple of date clashes, including 2 shared weekends at Long Beach and Detroit for Pietro Fittipaldi. So a full season IndyCar drive was not necessarily doable. The second seat was Juncos Hollinger Racing, finalizing their lineup. They have some new suits that they showed up with at Content Day. They have some new numbers. Well, not new numbers, they have some new designs, but their full season lineup is kind of an interesting one. They have Stingray Robb in the 77 car, which, yeah, I get it. That's kind of a money hire. Stingray does have... there's something there. there's something there. He was okay in the lower divisions, but what people are really looking at in terms of what could deliver Juncos results, especially on the ovals, is Connor Daly, who was driving the 78 that was occupied by Augustine Canapino for about a year and a half before Daly jumped in to finish the season last year. So he's going to get the full-time ride in that car. It's going to be interesting to see what he can do owner's points and leader circle-wise for the 78 team. He's going to be good on the ovals, or at least mid on the ovals, probably better than where Canapino was on the ovals, excluding the Indy 500. But it's going to be interesting. I think Daly has the most potential out of the two, but I don't expect huge things from Juncos. I mean, it's Juncos. I don't think anyone expects anything like groundbreaking. Like, yeah, Daly got a podium at Milwaukee last year. Maybe they get one more podium with him at a track like Iowa or even Milwaukee again. But really, we don't know at this point. It's just a silly season. We just know that his butt will be in that seat. So Connor Daly will be in the Juncos Hollinger number 78. And the final signing for this little cycle that we've had between Cars and Coffee episodes here has been Jacob Abel, who will drive the Dale Coyne Racing with, I think Rick Ware is still here, number 51 Honda. So they didn't change that number because 51 was Jacob's number in Indy Next. But I don't know if they're still going to use the Rick Ware font or if Rick Ware's even involved anymore. For a fact, they haven't changed the number because they really don't need to because that's still Jacob's number. But there are some questions to be answered at Coyne, though. The 18 car still remains open. That has a lot of interesting candidates. That has because you still have a lot of people who don't have full season rides and may not have rides at all. Renus VK is the huge one after leaving Ed Carpenter Racing, assuming apparently out of his own free will because he thought he could find a ride somewhere else because apparently Ganassi wasn't downsizing when Renus left Ed Carpenter. So Ganassi downsized because of the charters, and Renus was kind of left hung out to dry. He's still available. I don't know if he has money, because Dale Coyne really likes money, and if you're going to drive for Dale Coyne, you should at least have some sponsorship, because he's going to want it. Linus Lundqvist, the Rookie of the Year from last year, is still available. I don't think he's as likely to get the seat like VK because of money. Really, those are the only reasonable options, because the only others are Hunter McElray, Toby Sowery, and Catherine Legg. And none of them... I mean, Catherine Legg might have the funding from Elf, but she hadn't delivered results on the ovals. I think Catherine Legg may do one run at the 500 with Coyne in a third car. I've heard some rumblings about that. Apparently there's a Catherine Legg diecast car being made, so that's a hint to something. So I don't know. That's something that could go nowhere and something that could pan out at the same time. So we really don't know. There's so many people going for that last seat that we really don't know where Dale Coyne is leaning right now, even in terms of, like, yeah, Renus has the talent, but he doesn't have the money. Same with Lundqvist. It's basically, can you get a good balance between money and talent? And if you can't, just go with the guy who has all the money, which really, out of all the people that are candidates for that seat, it isn't any of them. But into the non-driver news, McLaren has bought out the last 25% of Sam Schmidt and Rick Peterson's stake in the IndyCar team. So that team is now 100% in-house, owned by McLaren. Sam Schmidt and Rick Peterson, they took their name off the team maybe 2 years ago, and they have finally left the team completely, completing the transfer that took about 5 years between McLaren coming on at the end of 2019 and the full takeover of the team by McLaren just this past, I think, week and a half ago. Progress is being made. Of course, this is a Mark Miles quote, so air quotes here. Progress is being made on getting races in Denver and Mexico City for the 2026 season. Now, I don't know about Denver, because I haven't heard anyone else talk about Denver. The Pato Awards said at the IndyCar Media Day, I think, this was either yesterday or 2 days ago, he's been involved in the Mexico City negotiations, and they're going along quite well. So let this be a lesson, folks. If you bully Mark Miles enough, he will actually do what's good for the sport. So it's great to see. I really want to see Mexico City happen. I think they could sell out that event easily because Pato fans are great. Pato Award also posted on his Twitter this morning, if you haven't seen it, a picture of him and Mark Miles underneath the Pato Who billboard with Mark Miles wearing a Pato Who hat. So everything has really come full circle. And again, if you bully Mark Miles, apparently he will cave. So if he says something stupid, let him know online, I guess. Don't be too mean though. I'm not condoning anything here. But moving on from schedule news, because I could talk about how good the schedule could be if we didn't have terrible management all day. We actually have the 3 people that will be calling the races on Fox Network for 2025. We have two people who aren't new to their seats at all. The 2 color commentators are the same as last year. Townsend Bell, who unfortunately lost his house in the California wildfires. Townsend Bell will return to the color position, so we'll see a lot of love for Santino Ferrucci in the booth, unfortunately. And James Hinchcliffe will be alongside him. The new play-by-play for IndyCar on Fox is honestly a kind of surprising hire, and this came out after he did Prema's car launch a couple days ago. Will Buxton from the F1 paddock is now going to be the lead commentator on Fox for the NTT IndyCar Series. It's an interesting hire. I don't know off the top of my head any good Buxton call, but I just hope he's good. I hope he's energetic, and most importantly, I'm glad that the lead play-by-play commentator role is not being filled by Jamie Little. That was the biggest problem I had when IndyCar was switching to Fox. I really didn't want Jamie Little. Jamie Little is an okay pit reporter. She's not necessarily cut out for play-by-play commentary. Fox puts her in on ARCA and in the NASCAR Truck Series booth. The Truck Series booth, for other reasons, including Michael Waltrip, is the reason that I watch NASCAR truck races without sound. But I'm glad it's Will Buxton. I'm glad it's not Jamie Little, but I'm glad it's someone that has experience, and you didn't just pluck a pit reporter in. I would have liked Kevin Lee, but because Kevin Lee's done IndyCar play-by-play before, but Kevin Lee I think is staying as the lead commentator for Indy Next, which is on TV now, so they can actually sell sponsorship, which is wonderful. So honestly, I think Fox is really putting in some effort here, and I really like that. They aired during the NFL playoffs, and they posted this on their Twitter, a new personalized, or a driver-focused ad for Joseph Newgarden. And for the really old IndyCar fans, or i.e. 10 years ago IndyCar fans, which probably, you might remember the, let's just say, interesting commercial involving Joseph Newgarden taking a bath in a tub full of milk. It's kind of a spiritual successor to that, except it's better in every way possible. They got Tom Brady. That's pretty cool. You got Tom Brady in an IndyCar ad talking about, Joseph Newgarden's jawline isn't that good. That's awesome. Fox, you knocked it out of the park with this ad. It's awesome. It's funny. It's everything that it needs to be. And I can't wait to see the other two that they're going to do for Alex Palou and especially for Pato O'Ward, because I think with Pato O'Ward you have a lot. You have a lot to work with. You got a lot of personality there that you can show off. I'm really excited for what those last two ads are going to be. And another thing that IndyCar's taking from F1, I'll say this briefly before we go to a song break. IndyCar is going to debut new driver's eye cameras, which they've had driver's eye cameras before, but these ones are going to be better. I think they'll have them in most drivers' helmets, but I've always loved like driver's eye camera angle, and I really hope we get to see more of it, especially at tracks like Iowa, because Iowa is basically just a big bowl. And especially at the Indy 500, because that's the big one. That's the one you really want to see the driver's perspective for. So, overall, this batch of IndyCar news for this week has been overwhelmingly positive. So, hopefully, we got IndyCar going in the right direction. When we come back, I have some IndyCar adjacent NASCAR news and NASCAR actually waking up and changing some really bad rules, so I decided I should actually cover NASCAR this week. So, we're going to kick it to a song break. We will be right back here on Cars and Coffee. Here is I Can't Tell You Why by the Eagles. Don't go anywhere. Cars and Coffee will be right back here on 91.3 WHJE. Hi, if you're listening to this right now, that means you're listening to the YouTube version of the show. I just want to say thank you for listening and make sure to subscribe so you never miss another show and more highlights from the TWYR channel. Now, let's get back to the show. We now return to Cars and Coffee on 91.3 WHJE. That was I Can't Tell You Why by the Eagles. Welcome back to Cars and Coffee here on 91.3 WHJE. My name is Nathan Ward. It's the first show of 2025, and we're back to covering NASCAR because I can't decide whether or not I want to cover NASCAR on this show or not, because so much happens and so much of it doesn't go anywhere. So, I don't know if I want to waste my time, but there's actually stuff going on in NASCAR right now that I actually want to talk about. So, Helio Castroneves, we all know him as the most recent four-time Indy 500 winner, and he's going for 5 this year. After his 50th birthday, which is pretty cool. He will join Trackhouse in the Project 91 entry. That's kind of like their all-star car. He will join Trackhouse and make an attempt at the Daytona 500, and he won't just make an attempt at the 500. He will get in no matter what, because NASCAR has added a new provisional, like this open, I think it's like Open Extension Provisional or something like that. It's OEP, Open Something Provisional. That will allow a star driver from another series, which Helio Castroneves does fit into the category of no matter what you think of him. He will be guaranteed an entry into the Daytona 500 no matter what, and they are not taking away an open car spot to achieve this, which I think is really cool, because if you're not familiar with NASCAR, because I don't talk about it much on this show, in NASCAR you have 36 charter teams. IndyCar just adopted a charter system that's a little bit similar to this. NASCAR has 36 charter teams. The max field capacity for every single race is 40 cars. That leaves 4 spots for non-charter teams to come in on a race-by-race basis, usually depending on the prestige of a race. So, Daytona 500 always has over 40 cars going for 40 spots. Like last year, it was 42 cars going for 40 spots. So two cars went home. It's looking right now like it's like 44 cars going for 40 spots, which is that's really good numbers. But not only will Helio Castroneves be guaranteed an entry, if he doesn't qualify either on speed or within the twin dual races, the dual qualifying races, he will start 41st. They will add another spot to the grid to make sure that Helio Castroneves starts this Daytona 500. On the caveat that the car can't earn owner's points or prize money for this venture. So if Helio Castroneves ends up having to use that provisional, the 91 team and Helio himself will not earn prize money for this attempt at the Daytona 500, which sounds a little bit stupid, but Justin Marks knows he runs this multi-million-dollar racing empire. He can afford to throw one extra entry at the Daytona 500 to make sure that Helio Castroneves gets this opportunity, which is awesome. Good on him. Moving on, the damaged vehicle policy that NASCAR's had for, man, I don't even know. They've had this for a long time. They've finally overhauled it. The clock on the damaged vehicle policy, it used to be you get to sit on pit road for an allotted amount of time, and if you can't get back out and meet minimum speed by the time that clock winds down to 0, you are done. You have to go back to the garage, pack up, go home. You're done. They have changed the rule, so if you run out the clock on pit road, you just have to go back to the garage. Basically getting rid of this rule that everyone has hated, because it's funny. It's funny to see this car like covered in, duct tape and like held back together with like string and duct tape. It's got no front bumper or whatever. It's kind of funny to watch that just like trundle around, passing cars that are already out of the race to get more points. Like, that's extra entertainment. That's good on NASCAR for dropping that stupid damaged vehicle policy rule. And the final NASCAR thing is that in response to Kyle Larson's failed double attempt last year, any driver who receives a waiver to compete in the playoffs. So Kyle Larson had to get a waiver to compete in the playoffs because he missed the Coca-Cola 600 because the Indy 500 got rain delayed. He then came back. He flew back to Charlotte after the race started, but since he didn't start the race, he wouldn't get points and wouldn't get credited with the start, so he'd have to get a waiver anyway, but the Coke 600 got rained out, and Justin Allgaier did the entire race in the 5-car. From now on, if Larson does this again, which he will do it again this year, if he misses the start of the Coke 600, he can get a waiver. If he makes the playoffs, he will start at 2,000 points when they reset all the points. He will not be allowed to earn playoff points from that point on and that point back. So all the playoff points he could have accumulated by Charlotte get taken away, and he's not allowed to earn more. So you start at 0, basically. I like this rule, but I don't like this rule. Like, yeah, it's punishing people for missing races, but this includes the birth of a child. Like, if you miss a race because your wife is having a baby, you are at a points disadvantage to everybody else. That's kind of dumb. This rule is okay. It needs to be rolled back in some places. Overall, positive. There are some parts of this rule that I don't like, including the part where, oh, your wife's having a baby, too bad, we're taking all your points. That's dumb. Like, people have lives outside of racing. And yeah, I know it's 2-3 days of the week. And you have all that other time, but there are some things you can't control when it happens. So I'd like to see that rule relaxed a little bit. It's NASCAR, so they won't, at least not for the next 10 years. But overall, it's a step in the right direction, in my opinion, but with a little bit of an added, that's a little dumb. But we have one bit of F1 news. So since Cadillac will not build their own in-house Formula One engine until 2028, they will run Ferrari engines in 2026 and 2027. That's kind of a weird combo, but, I don't know. I'm for it. More teams on the grid, and we get like a truly American team, because Haas has a team outpost on every continent at this point. They don't really do anything. All their cars are built in Italy because they're basically just rebadged Ferraris. But last bit of news is some sports car stuff before we sign off today. The Genesis, Genesis is Hyundai's luxury brand. So they make, the Hyundai Genesis is now its own thing. But Hyundai will enter the IMSA Sports Car Championship in the top GTP class using the Genesis brand. They've revealed that program's going to happen, and they've announced Pipo Derani and Andre Lauderer as their first drivers, which is a really good lineup to start with. Pipo Derani is probably one of the best prototype drivers of the 21st century. And Andre Lauderer has been pretty much good in everything you put him in, if you don't count the Caterham F1 car, because that car, I don't know how that thing was even running. That car was so badly built that Andre Lauderer couldn't get anything out of it. It was a miracle that thing was running. But Andre Lauderer and Pipo Derani, great drivers, great picks for Genesis to get their program started on the right foot. That is the last bit of news on this show. Thank you for listening to Cars and Coffee here on 91.3 WHA. My name is Nathan Ward. Remember, if you want to get in touch with the show, make sure to follow our Instagram at carsandcoffee_WHA. Follow This Week in Racing on Twitter at TWYR_tweets. And reach out to the show if you want to get on the show sometime. That's it for today. Thank you for listening. Here's Subdivision.